Would you believe me if I told you the world's oldest baby has been born in the US from an embryo that was frozen in 1994? That's right. This isn't science fiction. It's real story. Today we are diving into the incredible true story of the world's oldest baby born from a frozen embryo. Embryo freezing or cryopreservation is a real-world version of suspended animation. These tiny human lives are stored at nearly 200 degrees centigrade, where time simply stops. And yet they wait. For years, for decades, for someone to bring them back. Thaddeus Daniel Pierce was born on 26 July in Ohio to Lindsay and Tim Pierce, using an adopted embryo from Linda Arched, 62, from more than 30 years ago. In the early 1990s, Arched and her then husband decided to try IVF after struggling to become pregnant. In 1994, 4 embryos resulted. One was transferred to Arched and resulted in the birth of a daughter who is now 30 and mother to a 10-year-old. The other embryos were cryopreserved and stored. IVF is a type of fertility treatment where eggs are retrieved from a woman's ovaries and fertilized with sperm in a laboratory setting. The resulting embryos are then transferred back into the womb. The embryos can also be frozen and stored for future use. Arched was awarded custody of the embryos after divorcing her husband. She then found out about embryo adoption, a type of embryo donation in which both donors and recipients have a say in who receives the embryos. It is overseen by agencies, usually explicitly religious ones, that believe an embryo is morally equivalent to a born human. Arched had a preference for her embryo to be adopted by a white Christian married couple, leading to the Pierces adopting the embryo. Lindsay and her husband, Tim Pierce, who live in London, Ohio, adopted the embryo in 1994. Thaddeus is not the first known frozen embryo brought back to life. In 1992, somewhere in the United States, an embryo was frozen and sealed away, preserved in liquid nitrogen, locked in a dreamless, timeless state. It stayed that way for 27 years, until someone decided to wake it up. In 2020, that embryo, now known as Molly Everett Gibson, was brought back to life. She became the oldest known frozen embryo ever successfully born. And yes, that means she was technically conceived before her own mother graduated preschool. But here's the twist. Molly's older sister, Emma, also came from an embryo frozen for 24 years. It's almost like these two children were plucked from the past and dropped into the future. This isn't just a strange medical anomaly. It raises unsettling questions. If embryos can survive 30 years, what about 50 or 100? Could someone be born today from parents long dead? Could the past literally be reborn? Thaddeus Daniel Pierce and Molly Gibson are living proofs that the past never truly dies. Sometimes it just waits, frozen, watching, and waiting to return. Like what you just saw? Hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more stories that are weird, creepy, and a little too real. Until next time, stay curious and stay cool.